The last function that I will show you, yes, this is the last one. I know it's been a lot of videos on this particular assignment, but this is the last one, I promise. Is going to be the function called ImportRange. ImportRange, what it does is it imports data off of the range of another Google Sheets. I'm not talking about just another Google Sheets tab. I'm talking about a full another Google Sheets file. So why might you ever want to do something like that? Why might you ever want to pull across data from one sheet and give it to another? Well, very simply, you could come in here and you could come up with a Google Forms that is keeping records on hogs, for example. Then you've got all this data that goes into a Google Sheets, and you've put in a lot of work, a lot of effort using these equals VLOOKUP, equals query, equals count, equals sum if, equals sum, all of these different functions that you have learned in this class, and you build a very robust, very useful, very powerful data collection system, data collection and sorting system through some of these formulas. And at the end of it, it's giving you some key information, such as maybe the number of surviving piglets, number of total males, and number of total females. And you built all this and you don't want anybody to tamper with it, but yet you work for somebody and your boss needs this information right here. Well, if you're worried about somebody else having access to this whole Google Sheets and being able to be privy to information that maybe they shouldn't be, maybe on part of this you're dealing with, part of this Google Sheets is dealing with death loss, and maybe you're giving this information to a potential hog buyer that's looking to figure out how many males and how many females you have, and they don't really need to know what your death loss is. They don't need to know what your shot information or your farrowing information is. So you're trying to keep them from being able to have access to anything other than just the information over here that you want them to. So what we can do is we can use this function called import sheet. And what we are going to do is we are going to take this sheet and just the data that we want to share, which is this data right here, and we're going to have it show up on this sheet where it automatically adjusts and automatically updates based off of the other sheet. Now, and the positive thing about that is it means that the person who has access to this sheet right here does not have access to this sheet, which means they can't go snooping around and see something they shouldn't. But you still keep your whole sheet, your whole system that you have built on this record keeping system intact. So let's go ahead and see how that works. So we're going to do a function called ImportRange. So this ImportRange is asking for the sheet URL. So this is the sheet URL. I've already got it copied and pasted over. But I'm going to go up here, and this is the Google Sheets that I'm wanting to link. I'm going to highlight all of this URL, this web page link. And I highlight it, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say, when it loads, copy. Come back over here. I'm going to put it in quotations, just like our import HTML. We have to put our web page in quotations. And I'm going to right click and say paste. Close quotations, comma. The next part it says range string. So it's asking what is the sheet name and the cells that we want to bring across. So if we go back over here to this record keeping, the data that we want to bring across is in cell A1 to B3 on the information page. So for simplicity's sake, I put that right there. So we are going to do open quotations, information, then that exclamation point, because every time that we're there, you have to identify the sheet and the cell name. We always do the cell name or the sheet name, that particular tab name, followed by an exclamation point, A1 through B3. close parenthesis, and I press enter. Now we can see that all of that pulls up. All of it works just fine. Now, whenever you first do this and you first do use a sheet like this, it's probably going to have a little tab down here and it says allow access. Somewhere on here it's probably going to say something like allow access, and it might throw up an error sign saying we don't have access to the sheet. If it ever does that, just say allow access down here, and that'll go ahead and bring that in. So now let's say you give this to the potential hog buyer and they have this data to where they now know the number of surviving piglets, number of males, and you're still farrowing out pigs, and you've still got more information coming in. So we have this Google Forms that's linked to this Google Sheets right here, this raw hog record keeping. It comes in here on the Google form, then goes to the query function, then to this data function, and then after that it goes to the information page, just like what you've done on the rodeo expense assignment. So what I want to demonstrate to you is that we have this information right there, and if I move this over to the side, bear with me for just a second. And what I want to do, now that I have two of these screens pulled up and you can see both, is that this assignment 17, this last page, this import range, it is not linked directly to these forms. It is linked to this hog record keeping page, as you saw by the use of that import range. So I'm going to go ahead and type in another animal and say 16-2. We had farrowing information. She farrowed on, I'm going to just come up with a random date, say February 13th, 2017. Something of that nature. We click next. And then it asks number of piglets farrowed. We say 6. 6 farrowed. 5 survived. Of those 5, 2 were males, 3 were females. We click submit. Now, before I click submit, I want you to watch over here. Watch it, all these numbers. Now I'm going to go ahead and click submit. And it's going to take a little bit of time to work through it. And you can see that those numbers automatically update. So the benefit of this import range is that now we can share this Google Sheets file with somebody. And you can put the information that you want them to have on there without allowing them access to your full record keeping sheet, and they can have access to just what you need them to have access to. But on top of that, they can still have access to it. To where they're not calling you every day and saying, hey, what's going on? What's the new deal? What's the new information? Another way that you could use this is, the way that I envision this is being able to just provide certain data to certain people without giving them access to everything else. Another way that you could use this import range is if you are, say, having a cattle sale or any kind of sale, and you come up with an auction system to where you keep all of the data, where as the animals are being sold, you're entering in all this data, and it's automatically calculating how much everybody owes and things of that nature, which, by the way, you can. I've actually done that with the help of one of my students in the past. We've come up with a system to where as buyers buy the animals, I put in the buyer number, or somebody puts in the buyer number and the buyer price, and it's automatically calculating how much everybody owes. Now, I've done that before, and the only formulas that I've used are the formulas that I've already shown you in this class. So you can go out there and build your own right now with the simple formulas that we have already done. But say you want to give out the information of how the sale is going right now. You want to give out that information of how much everybody is buying these animals for, what's the current market price, and things of that nature. And you come up with a sheet, and you want to allow that to be accessed by anyone during the sale, but you don't want them to have access to the whole system that you built. Well, this could give them access to allow them to see that information without giving them access to your system that you built. Another way is, what if you're running, say, a competition, and you want to produce the results of that competition, without giving them access to how you got those results. Well, this import range could be a viable option to be able to display that information without actually allowing them access to it. Now, another thing I want to show you is there's usually more than one way to do something. And I want to go ahead and show you the second way that you can import a range. Second way that you can import range is simple cell referencing. So we already have the web page right here and the cells right there. So we're going to click right there on the website, comma, the range string, close parenthesis, and press enter. And it brings that same data across by using cell referencing right here, rather than having to actually have to type everything in. So hopefully you might be able to use this import range and you find it handy in order to give information to somebody without allowing them to have access to everything.